Kemble Airfield, Gloucestershire, on a quiet summer's day. All there is to break the peace are the song of the birds and a lone man setting up electronic equipment at the end of the runway. But soon the silence will be shattered by over 3,000 horsepower as the world's fastest cars are run flat out down the runway to see which is truly the quickest of them all. Porsche, Ferrari, Lotus, Aston Martin, Jaguar. The greatest names in sports car history. All are here to find out who is the true supercar king. Today we have assembled 7 of the fastest road cars the world has ever seen. This is the Lotus Esprit S4S. It'll do about 165. Porsche 911 turbo, 408 horsepower, top speed 185 I suppose. And moving on to this, the Ferrari F512M. It's faster still, up to about 196. Aston Martin V8 Vantage, top speed about the same, in the 190s. This, the Chrysler Viper, a little bit slower, still do 170 or so. And the Ferrari F40, no longer in production but still good for 200 miles an hour. The fastest of all is this, the Jaguar XJ220. This car has done 211 miles an hour. Quite how fast it's going to go today, I don't know. We'll have to see. The runway at Kemble is 1.3 miles long, with a blind crest about halfway down, which most cars will take at about 140 miles per hour. This is the start. It's the approach road to the runway, which itself is just over 1.2 miles long. We come through a corner coming onto the runway, doing about 65 to 75 miles an hour, aiming to accelerate through. It's a pretty fast corner because it's quite tight, and most cars will be pretty near their limit. We then come onto the main runway, coming onto now, and accelerate as hard as we possibly can through as many of the gears. In this Porsche 911 Turbo, you'll get all the way through 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and probably actually into 6th before braking at the end. The runway goes up over a brow. You can't actually see where the finish is, but as we come down the other side, this car should be pulling, it's difficult to say at the moment, but about 165 miles an hour before braking after the speed trap. At the end of it, there's very, very little runoff. There's not a lot of space to brake, so we are going to have to be quite careful and get on the brakes just as soon as we're through the trap. All these cars have been supplied by their manufacturer except the F40. Its owner, Chris Palmer, can't resist going out for a practice run. Who can blame him? It also gives us the chance to check that the timing equipment is working properly. Autocar Steve Sutcliffe is out for some early fun too. But soon the practice is over and the runs must start in earnest. First up to the start line, the Lotus Esprit S4S. With less than 300 horsepower, where all the others have 400 or more, it'll be doing well to break 150 miles per hour here. It starts well, accelerating hard through the early gears. But as 130 miles per hour approaches, the limitations of its 2.2-litre, 4-cylinder engine become all too apparent, and it starts to struggle for extra speed. By the time it's over the hill and trips the light beam, it's travelling at 146.16 miles per hour. Not a bad result for so little power, but not a difficult time to beat. The Dodge Viper should do better. 8 litres, 10 cylinders and 400 horsepower should see to that. It fairly explodes off the line, eating its first 3 gears in no time at all. But, like the Lotus, it starts to make heavy weather above 130 miles per hour. It's quicker, but 152.02 miles per hour is a disappointment. On paper, the Aston Martin Vantage should be even quicker. With 550 horsepower, it's the most powerful here, but at almost 2 tons, it's also the heaviest. It takes a little time to gather speed, but once underway, it feels unstoppable, moving above 100 miles per hour much more freely than either the Lotus or the Viper. Luckily, the brakes are fantastic too. It needs them to slow from 155.39 miles per hour. It's time for Ferrari to play its first hand, and it puts the F512M forward, with the most charismatic engine in the world pumping out 434 horsepower. Can it establish Ferrari's dominance, or will the F40 be needed? It feels very fast, but in the end does 161.91 miles per hour. The F40 can't go home yet. We have just timed the Porsche 911 Turbo from 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds, and it doesn't seem likely to lie down and play dead in front of its old foe from Ferrari. It is electrifying from rest, savagely fast up to 150 miles per hour. It hits the light barrier at 163.06 miles per hour. The Ferrari is beaten. Just. The Jaguar's time has come. With its race-bred engine and chassis, it should pulverize everything else that has been so far. To do less would be utter failure. It has 552 horsepower from its twin-turbo engine to make sure of success. Immediately it feels a league faster than anything else so far, slamming its driver back into its seat, forcing gear change after gear change. Even at 150 miles per hour, the relentless acceleration just keeps on coming. 160 comes and goes, so does 170. Finally, it blasts through the barrier at an incredible 180.27 miles per hour, annihilating all other attempts so far. It is crunch time for Ferrari. What can the F40, an old car compared to the others here, do about the Jaguar's phenomenal time? It has less power, just 478 bhp, but it is a Ferrari. Incredibly, it accelerates away even faster than the Jaguar, feeling more like a thoroughbred racing car than something to be used on the public road. At 140, I'm sure it will beat the Jaguar, but by 170, it has started to slow, lacking the Jaguar's slippery shape and power. It just can't push the air out of the way fast enough. It does 177.79 miles per hour. Close, but not close enough. It has been an incredible day, and no car has disgraced itself. In the end, the Jaguar proved a worthy winner, with the best blend of power, lightweight, and aerodynamic efficiency needed to ensure victory. But if there was one car we could take home here, it wouldn't be the Jag. It would be the uncompromised and incomparable Ferrari F40.